What is up, Cabbage Crew? This is Matt and John, who's playing with his hair. Welcome to the Cabbage Crew podcast, episode 14. Today we're going to be talking about Raava and all things Raava related. Basically, John,
what am I doing?
You're just making a face. Basically, Raava, what we think about Raava, where we think they're going to go with Raava, and kind of a couple different topics with Raava related. John didn't know who Raava was a minute ago, so
I know who Raava was. I was joking.
John, get closer to the mic. Get closer.
I was joking.
Beautiful. God, you're such a beautiful man. So, John, we always start with a little story.
Well, first of all, we are recording this on Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all those mothers out there. Matt, did you call your mom?
I did not.
Did you hang out with Madre?
No, I went to an Orioles game. My mom was there, and I actually saw her in the crowd. I was right behind home plate, all the way up in the nosebleeds, and she was behind first in the club level, and I saw her, and I was waving at her. We were texting, waving at each other. My only interaction I had with my mother today. And I texted my stepmom.
Okay. Very cool.
What about you, John? Do anything today special?
No, not at all. I despise mother. No. No, I love my mother. So we celebrated Mother's Day yesterday. And so I had a free day on Mother's Day. But it was me, my brother, my sister-in-law. We just went out to this place this restaurant in Ohio with my mom. And we got lots of drinks, food, and my brother and I split the bill, right? And we were all at least tipsy, at minimum. And we were there so long that the waiters and waitresses were looking at us being like, "Are you get out?" But yeah, we got tons of drinks, and me and my brother split the bill because that's what children do for their parents. And and me and my brother, we hit the bill. And me and my brother just look at each other "Oh my God, this is so funny."
You're like, "Mom."
My brother goes, because it was originally my brother and sister-in-law were going to pay for everyone, but I was no, I'll pitch in and cover half of it too. But then it ended up being just,
oh my gosh, your dog is freaking out. Too much. Well, I had a fun weekend.
Anyway, so it ended up.
Oh, there's your dog.
Somewhere down here. Hello, Muffin. Thanks for barking. It's in the first, I was "Hi, Aang. Thanks for coming." But anyways, so my brother and I looked at the bill, and like I said, my brother and sister-in-law were supposed to pay for it, all of it. And then he looked at me and goes, "Yeah, actually, thanks for splitting it with us because it would have been double." This was over a $250 bill. It was
wow.
It was expensive, but worth it,
I had a fun-fulfilled weekend. I went to go see Planet of the Apes. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes on Friday with Kian.
Oh.
His wife subscribes. I don't think he subscribes.
Well, Kian, that's why we like her more than him, right?
100%. Yeah, we saw it. I think me and Kian, for the most, we didn't talk too much. We ate beforehand, so we didn't really talk too much after because it was super late. But I feel like we were on the same page, and it was really good. Kind of slow towards the middle, but it needed to be slow for specific reasons for character development. Really interesting. It's about 300 years after Caesar's trilogy. And some cool concepts, a really good ending, really good villain. The main character, Noah, was done well, and I think they're going to do a trilogy with him. So I'm excited to see what they do with Noah. The clan that Noah lives in, I'm not going to spoil anything, but they, it's a coming of age story, and it's definitely like it's a good coming of age story. I think I gave it on our little group chat. I think I gave it a 3.8 out of 5, which is like about a B. I'll give it about a B minus. I think if they made something else in the middle a little bit more, they gave us more content in the middle that's interesting and less of character development, more of like world development a little bit more. I don't know, something about the pacing in the middle of the movie was a little slow to me, but overall, really good movie.
Interesting.
Really
I
good movie.
I never really got into those. I wish I did. I've seen one of them, like the 2013, 2014 one. Like I don't remember what it was called, but
You have Rise
it might have
with
been
James
Rise.
Franco. That's
I don't
about
remember.
Caesar
All I
becoming.
remember it was them in a lab or like a zoo.
Uh, yeah, that was Rise then.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Um,
you have Rise and then you have Dawn, which is kind of like a civil war between the apes, kind of.
I don't think so.
And then you have, I'm sorry, yeah, that's Dawn, and then War is more like humans and apes kind of fighting and
Yeah,
other things. And then this one is like 300 years. So something I really like. So this one's like 300 years after Caesar, and Caesar's almost looked at as like a religious god, kind of, or like something as if like how we would view Jesus. That's how they view Caesar
sure.
in this movie. And the villains take his words and twist them to make it kind of like in a bad way.
Right.
So, and then the main character kind of learns what the true way of Caesar was and what he wanted
Have you seen the 60s version?
a long time ago. So the 60s version, this is a prequel of the 60s version. So in
Okay.
the first one you see a newspaper, and then you also see a television in the background talking about the astronaut from the original leaving. So by the end, he's going to land, and I think they're saying they're making six or nine, and
Wow.
they're saying they're making 6, and he's going to land it in the last one. So this is all the stuff that happens after he leaves, and then when he gets back, it's the future, and apes have now taken over.
Cool.
So yeah, really good. I recommend them. Yeah, so I saw that. Saturday I played some volleyball.
Hmm.
Sunday or Saturday night I went to Jack's, our friend Jack's. Didn't get him until 3:30 in the morning, so woke up pretty late, went to the O's game, and now we're here.
I wasn't done with my story.
Continue with your story.
Anyway, so I get back home to my dad's. Typical mid-20s person. Coming home doing free laundry. Just being a bum, and I, I, um, I had Matt and I were scheduling to do this podcast,
Yeah,
and
this podcast, yeah.
I thought I had everything. I got my laptop, got my charger, but the camera to my computer, because my computer lacks, it doesn't the camera that's installed just doesn't work. So I had to get a camera for it, and I forgot the camera at my apartment, and it's like 30 minutes away. And Matt's like, "Oh, dude, like, come on, you have to pick this little camera up for the podcast." And he's like,
Mhm.
I'm like, "No, like, I'm not going to be driving back and forth 30 minutes and waste gas." And then Matt goes, "No, what I mean is like go after work and then come, and then you can come back." And then I'm like,
There's a couple
"No,
options you could have taken, to be honest.
I'm not wasting gas. I'm sorry. That was my
Well, the option I was trying to give you, which was, for those who don't know John's weird living schedule, he he goes to work near where his dad lives. So he gets off work and
it's 30
essentially
minutes from
lives.
my dad's place."
Well, you like live with your dad
No, I
during.
know.
I don't.
No,
I
well,
don't
kind
really don't
of, but
know.
not really.
I don't really know what your schedule is, but basically, I was telling you after you get off of work on Monday tomorrow.
Mhm.
Today is Sunday.
Yeah.
I told you you can either go grab your camera tonight. Oh gosh, you have to drive 30 minutes down the road to grab your camera. End of the world.
Down the
No.
road 30 minutes? Did you just say 30 minutes is down the road?
Yes. What is that? 15 miles?
It's actually like 20 plus.
Okay. All right. Anyway, I'm not even going to talk about that. But I guess some people look at driving differently. Yes.
30 minutes
I
is
look at
a
30. I look at a 30-minute drive is down the road. But anyway, yeah. I mean, I look at 30 minutes as
down the
like
road is like 10 minutes. That's down the
okay,
road.
okay, down the road, and then take 3 turns, and then go down another road. Anyway, anyway, no. But my second thing I said which was what I thought you would do, which is just get off of work on Monday and go to your home
Mhm.
and just have your camera, go to your house and record the podcast, and then just spend the rest of the night at your house, and then go to bed, and then go to your dad's Tuesday.
But then I would
Apparently, that was like a really crazy thing.
well,
So,
I wouldn't
that
have
concept, the
I would
concept of going home to your actual house after work is just insane.
I wouldn't have gone back to my dad's though, that's the thing. Because the whole point was to come back for the Mac bid item that I was telling you about. Because it was either A, I'm leaving it'd be Tuesday if I won the Mac bid, which I did, so I'm going back to my apartment Tuesday night after work, or it'd be Thursday, Friday, or Saturday for the other Mac. It's the same Mac bid item, but in a different location. That's closer to my dad's.
Well, enough about us and more about Raava. You look like you're brain dead right now. You're like,
I mean, it is like 11 o'clock.
is it?
Yes,
We'll be fine. So,
so
Raava.
Raava.
What?
It rhymes with lava.
Sure. So, Raava, what was your initial thoughts when you watched that two-parter, which I think we both can agree is probably the best part of season 2?
Sure. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, when it comes to episodes, not
Yeah.
necessarily characters, but episodes, what did you think about not necessarily the story of the beginnings? And if you want to bring that in, that's fine. But mainly how they handled the idea of an avatar spirit being something that is, I guess you could say, tangible, right? It's
Mhm.
not just, oh, Aang died and now Korra's born. It's like a tangible thing that you can see, communicate with, understand, has its own character almost.
Yeah.
You know, when I watched After Last Airbender, I was never thinking of the avatar as a character,
Right.
right? Like its own
Mhm.
spirit. So, what's your thoughts?
I mean, you put the nail on the head just right there. They explained it well.
Oh, thank you.
I know. We agree. I know.
Okay.
But I think, yeah, I mean, you put the nail right on the head right there. And, like, I thought Korra and what the creators did with Rava and how they explained was really thought out
Mhm.
and done. It was done well. I kind of disagree with it just because, which means I think I agree with you based off of what you just said, where like that didn't enter my mind in Avatar: The Last Airbender, where there was this separate character being in the like that controls the Avatar state for the Avatar, um, and so like I just accepted that as is. I just thought that in Avatar, if you were reborn, you just get it. That was
Mhm.
I don't think that needed to be explained in Korra, in my personal opinion. The way that they did it was good, and how they
Yeah.
explained it, but I just disagree with it being brought up in the first place.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's one of those lore things that are added on later that they did well. Is it needed? No. But I think the biggest problem about it is now you look back and you're like, and we'll talk about this. I guess we can just move on and talk about this. It's like, well, why didn't Aang ever communicate with Raava? I mean, and it's like, okay, did any other avatars communicate with Raava, or is it just because Korra was able to go back and talk to the original avatar and see that story? It's like it's one of those things where I never really like when lore is it's one thing to add new stories to a world, but when you add new lore, it kind of like messes some things up sometimes. So like the creators added lore, which is Raava and the Avatar state and Batu, and even some more stuff with the spirit world. And it's like, okay, well, the magic system you created in the first series is now not mixing. It's one thing if a character says something like, for instance, we talked about last week, where elements are, it's more personality. So like it's easier to learn, it's harder to learn during your whatever your natural personality is, it's harder to learn the opposite. So for Aang, who's very, passive and avoid conflict, it's harder for him to learn Earth. They explained it in the show, it was the element that's opposite. But that was just Katara kind of explaining it to Aang, So it makes sense to be like, oh, well, Korra has a fiery personality, so actually fire was easy for her, and air is tough for her. Because that's an easy switch because it's just a character telling another character their experience. Where Avatar: Last Airbender made a rule, made a lore, and then changed the lore. It wasn't someone telling us; it was like the lore they created is now changed.
Right.
So like, don't love it. Don't love that. I wonder if Aang ever met Raava. I wonder if Aang ever knew how the original Avatar was created and knew that lion turtles were the reason. I doubt it. Is Korra the first Avatar to learn in generations? I don't know.
I would say so. And we don't really know because we've only learned about really like 5 avatars, but
Mhm.
like it sounds like Korra was the only one to really communicate with Avatar 1 and Raava, and like I would say Aang didn't because he didn't need to. So he could have been curious. Would I have been curious about like, oh, who's the first Avatar? Like, yeah, I probably would have been. But like, I don't. Maybe it just didn't enter his mind. That's my take. Maybe I might be wrong, but
Mhm.
um, I don't think there needed to be a way for Aang to do so. You know.
So it would have been interesting for there to be in between season 2 and season 3 what Korra did, which is like Aang had to go back and meet the original Avatar to gain a connection with Korra, or sorry, with Raava again. He was basically on his deathbed. Raava was about to leave him. He had to go find Raava again. And then, see, that would have been an awesome way to maybe do the first 2 episodes of the season or the first episode of the season
Mhm.
of After Last Airbender season 3 could have been maybe Aang in a state where he's essentially dying, has to find Raava, meets Juan, and by finding Raava, wakes up, and then the episode ends with him waking up, and then episode 2 begins with him waking up, and now it's the headband episode. Then you could take away like the painted lady or some other episode that we don't need, and or but that's could. But then you would have known about the lion turtles, and that's another thing we always have talked about, which is like the lion turtles came out of nowhere, and it's like no, now we know how bending started. It would have been a good way for us to learn how bending started and how the lion turtles, and then Aang meets a lion turtle at the end of the season, and it's like, oh, okay, interesting, they're back. What might this mean? So, what do you think about that?
I think it would have been a little bit convoluted in Avatar: The Last Airbender if you added that in there between season 2 and 3. Does it make sense? I would say so. But I don't think it fit in with the plot
Yeah, the
of
story.
the show, of the story. Like, it would have been like, "Oh my god, who's this Avatar one? He's meeting the first Avatar, like, this is kinda random."
Yeah, it would have
Um,
been like random. Yeah, it was kind of random in Korra too.
yeah, but it was actually but there was still, like, spirits being like, there's a whole
Yeah,
they were talking about spirits the
sure.
entire season of season 2. Um, and then, like,
Korra had a lot of random stuff in it, so it wasn't really
delving
a
like, delving into, like, uh, random spirit stuff and finding Iroh in the spirit world and, like,
yeah,
fluffy bunnies anyway. Uh,
yeah.
and so, like, they I disagree with adding it in Avatar: The Last Airbender. That Korra, it's just what I'm building off of what you just said, what you said about
Mm,
about adding in lore.
mm.
That's all Korra really was. It was about like, oh, here's an idea from the original. We're gonna try to build off of it and see where it lands with the audience. And
Most of the time, they missed
most of the time,
spirit stuff. I think they missed a lot of the
yeah, that
spirit
was
stuff.
yes. In regards to the spirit stuff, they totally butchered it.
Yeah, yeah. I think we can agree that they in Avatar: The Last Airbender, they portrayed the spirit world as like this eerie place that was like almost suspense, suspense, eerie, a little bit of horror elements to it. Where like Avatar Legends of Korra was like Alice in Wonderland, trippy, like flowers with faces and, you know, carrots walking around and like you said, like
Yeah.
rabbits flying and just weird stuff. And it was a different vibe. I always looked at the spirit world in Avatar as Airbender as almost like the mist,
Mhm.
you know.
Right.
Um these creatures.
I've said it before in our, Legend of Korra, reviews that the spirit world they made the spirit world like the Spirited Away Studio Ghibli film.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
that's literally I mean, and it was like Studio Ghibli meets Pokemon is what it was, in my view.
Mm, yeah. I mean, I don't know Spirit Ghibli, but I understand I get the Pokemon reference 100%.
Yeah.
I can see that. Um yeah, so going back to Raava,
Mhm.
I think the addition of Raava kind of goes into the idea of like it was unnecessary. Again, I didn't mind it, but then there's some other things you can go back and pick apart in Avatar: Last Airbender and be like, well, so a big one is when Aang dies against Azula, why didn't she leave his body?
Because it wasn't in my view, is it's not immediate. Like, I mean, you could, like, you know, it's not like an immediate disconnection happens when you die, is what I
Okay.
think. It's kind of like, uh, for example, like if you're like a Christian and if you die, it's not going to be an immediate like meeting with God. Like there's going to be
Hmm.
like time with your soul that goes up into heaven, like and you get your judgment day. There's it's not like an immediate like, oh, okay, well you died, okay, and then God's like hell or heaven. Like there's not
Yeah.
a takes time. So like that's where my mind goes
Hmm.
when I thought of that. It's not like an immediate disconnection. Like it there's time before that happens. It's like in Disney's Hercules, and if you've seen
Okay.
that,
Yeah.
where like the the weird ghoul sisters that cut the string.
Hmm.
Like there's time before they officially die. But like that's
Well, it's just like any human being that dies and then can get brought back,
yeah,
at the
that too.
hospital,
Such an
or
older
kind of the way I look at it, and this is probably a really effed up way of looking at it, but like when someone does have a catastrophic, death, like getting hit by a car accident or
Mhm.
getting shot.
Mhm.
Like they're dead, but their mind is still slowing down and still kind of alive. So like Aang died, but like he was still functioning in the sense of like everything wasn't cold,
Right. I mean, not to
you know?
be not to be a little bit too gross, but, like, kind of like an insect whenever you kill it, and then it's like
Yeah. Yeah. Glitching, they allow that's nervous system and stuff,
Yeah,
but yeah, like he was dead, but like, he wasn't cold to the point where he couldn't get brought back.
right.
So um
Katara's, spirit water magic was
yes.
Aang's suction. Clear.
100%, exactly. Um so another thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about Aang a little bit with Raava. Now, live action season 2 is going to be coming out here in the next couple years, and even season 3. Do you think they're going to bring Raava into the Netflix series?
I do say no, because that is just a Korra thing. It's I would say that's separate, and if they
Mhm.
do it, I think we're gonna be laughing about it. So, I mean,
Yeah,
I
it's
say no I say no because they're at least gonna hopefully keep it separate.
so there's
But
two ways I look at it.
okay.
One, they're both kind of screwed up. Well, no, not the first one. The first one is Rava's very hard. I mean, I can't imagine them trying to do a live action Rava. It would just look horrible. I mean, Rava even looks kind of weird. It's
Yeah.
like a weird kite thing.
It's like a magic carpet from Aladdin.
It's like a magic carpet kite looking thing that's just like blue.
Yeah.
I can only imagine them trying to do that. It also doesn't fit in the Avatar: Last Airbender story.
No.
But I hate to say this; it sounds really like bad, but I'll just say it anyway. The studio might be like another female, like, and it's like, oh yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, even though Toph's a great female character, but you know how studios are. Um,
And Tatara and Suki and
oh
Azula.
no, I know Avatar is the definition of not the only, but is like the definition of how to do it correctly. Strong female characters, not
Mhm.
because they're male or female, but it's a strong female character because she's a strong character and she just
Yep.
so happens to be female.
Yep.
Toph is not a dope character because she's a girl. She's a dope character because she has a great personality. She's fiery.
Mhm.
She's a badass. She used her blindness as an advantage. All those things make her an awesome character, not the fact that she's female.
And in the that I think the more that I think about it, I think Toph has one of the second probably the second best, um, I don't know if it's story arc is what I'm trying to say, but
Really?
just in terms of, um, like, using a disability as an advantage.
Okay. What's the
Like
first?
well, I was thinking like Zuko, like, being, like, banished and, like, the character development there.
Mm,
I'm just saying in terms of using a weakness to your
mhm.
advantage, um, not that Zuko had one, I'm just saying that, like,
Yeah. No,
his
I get what you mean.
story arc and just
Yeah.
yeah. Um,
Zuko's weakness, yeah, Zuko's weakness per se, which was like being banished and outcast, made him learn that the ways of the Fire Nation is wrong, and it
yeah,
made him into a strong character.
right.
Yeah, yeah, I agree
And
with that.
then Toph using her blindness because like that to me, especially if you're like a first time watching as a kid, I mean you don't usually see characters depicted like that,
Mhm.
and um, and so it gives especially children and then adults like a great image and example to live by.
Yet also, like, I feel like in the last decade, they've watered down a lot of things like that. Like, I feel like if Avatar came out now and some other studios, let's say, did it, they would have felt like can't make Toph blind because it will be a negative image towards blind people. It would
Mhm.
be almost like a mean thing to do. And it's like, no, it actually is the opposite. it's actually kind of inspiring, not necessarily all
Well,
blind
that's what
people.
I'm trying to say. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, but not necessarily just the blind people, but anyone that has a disability or a disadvantage, um, either especially when it comes to their senses, it's like it's just something that can like inspire them a little bit. So it's
Mhm.
just I feel like a lot of studios now either do one of two things: either don't want to do it at all because they feel like they're going to hurt someone's feelings, and instead it's actually the opposite. And even like the blind jokes, you would think that like studios now would be like, I don't want to touch that. Oh my gosh, like, imagine the backlash. But like,
Mhm.
no, it's actually a good thing because it brings some lightheartedness to the situation. But it's also because she's such a great character, it it reinforces that she is blind and that
Mhm.
she's so powerful for being, the character she is. And like it just reinforces that, like, remember, this character can't see. Um and and then uh I think you're frozen, but whatever. You're frozen. You
Okay.
look like you look no, you're frozen, but it's all good. Yeah, so and another reason why studios seem like they back away a little bit from it is not only because they feel like they're going to be in a negative image, but instead what they'll do is they'll say, we have a we have to touch all of our we have to check all of our boxes. And it's like we're gonna have and sometimes it's like, why does this character need to be blind? Again, kind of a maybe a bad thing for me to say, but sometimes they throw characters in and it's like, yeah, let's just have a blind character. Why not? It's going to check a box.
Right.
And um and that's not what Toph's the whole reasoning behind Toph made sense from what Boomy told Aang,
Mhm.
to having a really good character, Earthbender, to that element of earthbending, all of it.
Right.
So, um, going back to Raava,
Bravo.
no, but a lot of that is with Toph, but like going back to Raava, um, I just feel like that character kind of making it make sense to kind of coming back around. Toph being blind and Toph being there made sense. Raava being in this plot, in this story with Aang, wouldn't make sense. And I would feel like they would do it if they added Raava. It would probably just because they're like, Raava's a great female character. We can tell the whole audience that the Avatar Spirit's a female. And I don't think she's needed in this plot. And you already have so much going on in season 2; it's not needed.
So you think they will, but if you had
I,
but
I don't want them to, but I could see them doing it.
but do you, that doesn't answer the question. Do you think? Because I said I don't think they will. It doesn't make sense. Do you think that they will? And you don't you me and you say the same thing. Like we don't want it
Yeah,
to, but do you think that they will?
I don't think they will. If I had a gun to my head right now, yes or no, I would say no, because it might be a reference. Let's say that there might be a reference,
I would
but
be
I don't.
more I'd be more accepting of a reference rather
Mhm.
than introducing the character.
Like the guru
Yeah.
mentioning it to her or something like that. When they're in the library, maybe
Honestly,
he sees
that'd be the
something.
perfect time to do it. Is the
Yeah.
having the guru say it? Yeah.
Or during the library, maybe he sees something, or maybe he goes into the Avatar state, and instead of Roku teaching him something, you see Rava explaining something to him,
What?
and it's like, I'm the Avatar spirit, and it's like, oh, and he has a quick conversation with him or with her. Um, but I don't think it's going to be any more than that.
Right.
Um, so Rava. That being said, there's going to be a third Avatar. There's going to be Kyoshi show. Do you think that Rava is going to be in those at all? Because now that we've introduced Rava, or are we going to see Rava now moving forward in the series?
In the live action, I
No, no, in
in the
in the anime.
shows,
Yeah.
no, I don't think so. Maybe,
Oh,
maybe, maybe. Like, am I ruling it out like you are, or like what you were trying to say with the live action? I'm not ruling it out, but I would say no. That'd be my guess. I think Raava would be more of a chorus, is part of mainly a part of the chorus show, is what I would say.
Okay.
Now, that's mostly just for the Kyoshi show. For the New Earth Avatar, I can see them mentioning Raava because it was mentioned in Korra, and it's
Correct.
and they're going to try to establish a connection with Raava and the New Earth Avatar. So, just because it's the Avatar after Korra, that's the only reason. I would be
Yeah.
surprised. I would be surprised if they put it in the Kyoshi show.
Okay. So anything that's post Korra, they will, because Korra learned about Raava, they will just
Yeah,
continue with the Raava story or anything. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. I would say that the chances of them putting Raava in Netflix Avatar is probably 15% chance.
I agree.
The Kyoshi, I would say, is probably, I'm not gonna lie, even less. I agree with you, like a 10%. In the new Avatar series after Korra, I would say like 60%.
I say like 35, 40, but
Yeah, I think there's a good chance that they do it.
sure.
Yeah.
Still jumped, like our percentages jumped a decent
Yeah.
bit. It's gonna, I don't think it'll be 50%. You think it's gonna be over 50,
I think it's
but
over 50% chance. I think it's over. Yep.
that's fair. But it's fair, but we'll see.
Um, yeah, so yeah, I mean that's pretty much everything. I mean, I don't know if if you want to touch up on anything. Um, yeah, I don't really know what else you want to talk about, but I mean, I think for the most part we've touched on everything about Rava that we want to talk about.
Yeah, just
Um,
an interesting lore added to Korra. Um, we'll
for the
see if
worst.
we'll see we'll see if she has a future and any other developments in the Avatar universe.
Hmm.
Um, I'm sure she'll get brought back up, but not sure when. That's a stay tuned for future Avatar projects.
Yep, I agree. All right, Cabbage Crew.
That was true.
Uh,
Thank you for tuning in. We love you. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't, please subscribe. But we thank you for being a very loyal audience, and we appreciate you. Um,
loyal. I wouldn't call them loyal at this point.
they're loyal,
They're
but Matt, you know what's
what?
happening. You know what's happening in a month.
Yeah. I don't even, Anime Con is that what it's called? I don't remember what it's called.
This thing that we've been hyping each
Anime
other.
Con, 150 subscribers.
We're halfway
150
there.
subscribers. Halfway there. More. We're more than halfway there, actually.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tell Jack and Kane to subscribe, and
Our Cabbage Crew. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks
yeah.
for staying into the end. God bless you for doing it. And subscribe. Comment below if you like Rava or not. And why do you like Rava? Why don't you like Rava? Or somewhere in between. Seems like me and John are somewhere in between. And we will see you guys. Episode 14 was a blast. Episode 15 is next week. See you guys next week.
See you, Cabbage Crew.